Good evening, everybody. My name is Robin Craig, and you're watching Robin Craig Live, broadcasting from Houston, Texas, my hometown. Guess what? We're in the middle of winter, and it's in the 70s. It's the strangest thing. They always say here in Texas, if you don't like the weather, wait a minute because you'll get something else. Well, that sure is the way it is now. I'm not complaining. I was out raking leaves out of the pool and wearing a short sleeve shirt, and I was very comfortable. So I know some of you guys are freezing. Terry in Missouri just got through saying that it was 62 at 7 a.m. and now it's 28. He's freezing. So Terry, hang in there, honey. Put on your warm clothes and stick around because we have a great show tonight. We are going to be talking with Jay Donnella, who is the Executive Director of SHAPE, which stands for Society for Heart Attack Prevention and Eradication. He's got so much wonderful information, and I'm glad you're here because the information that we're going to get from Jay tonight could be life-saving, your own or somebody that you care about. I'll be talking to Jay in seconds, but first, it's time for the Critter Update. Now, you guys remember me saying that recently I had something huge in my attic and it was literally running around in circles. I thought whatever it is has created a jogging track up there. It kept me awake from 3 to 4:30 a.m. one morning. It was crazy. Well, I stopped hearing the noise and I thought, I wonder what happened because it was so big. I'm sure he's going to come back. Well, today I get an email on Facebook from Dee, and that's my little widow neighbor who lives about 10 houses down, and she's like an amazing lady. She is in a wheelchair, and she can outrun all of us, I'm telling you. She's got one of the little motorized scooters, and she's just catching as many creatures as I am. She sent me a note and said that she caught a raccoon. And I thought, I bet that was the raccoon that was at my house, but he made a mistake and left, went to Dee's house, and now she's caught him and had a neighbor take him down to the reservoir and release him. So I don't think that's the end of my troubles yet. It's been this ongoing thing for 2 years, so I'm reaching a point where it may be time to contact Ellen DeGeneres and tell her that I need her help possum proofing my home. This job is way bigger than all the guys that have come over to help me. They keep repairing different spots, but they can't seem to outsmart the creatures. So Ellen, can you outsmart the creatures? Can you end this wildlife saga? Stick around because we're going to find out. Now, I want to wish a happy birthday to Ellen Greenway, who watches the show regularly, and to Brianne Marie Michaeloff, who also lives in California. Both girls had birthdays yesterday. I was able to reach out to both of them. So happy birthday, girls. It was great. If you're having a birthday and you want me to mention you on the air, just send me a note on my website, robincraigdirect.com. All righty. Did you guys know that heart disease as a result of clogged arteries is the leading cause of death in America? Is that insane? And then it is followed by cancer, stroke, lung disease, and accidents. My husband died at age 43 with undiagnosed cardiovascular and hypertensive disease, and if I had the information that you're about to hear, he might very well be alive today. So this is important. Stick around. Okay, guys, now let's get Jay on the phone. Hello, Jay. You're on Robin Craig Live. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad that you're here.
It's glad to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to get the message out.
Absolutely. You work so hard, and we just appreciate you so very, very much because there's a lot of great information out there, but it only works if we know about it. And there's so much to learn. We just don't know what to do. I want to read something, Jay, first. Just kind of hang on for me. I want to read something that I found. It was a news article written by Michelle Roberts, who is a health reporter with the BBC News. The title says, "Study says bereavement raises heart attack risk." I never even thought about that. The newly bereaved are at greatly increased risk of heart attack after the death of a close loved one, U.S. researchers say. Heart attack risk is 21 times higher within the first day and 6 times higher than normal within the first week, according to a study in the Circulation Journal of nearly 2,000 people. Symptoms to watch for include chest pain and shortness of breath. Experts say intense grief puts extra strain on the heart, and the psychological stress associated with loss can raise heart rate, blood pressure, and blood clotting, which in turn can increase the chance of a heart attack. A person's sleep and appetite are also likely to be disrupted during grieving. I know mine were. The researchers say it's important for family and friends to be aware of these risks and to keep an eye out during such difficult times. It's very important that if you are taking medication because you have or are at high risk of heart disease, do not neglect taking your medication following a significant bereavement. During situations of extreme grief and psychological distress, you still need to take care of yourself and seek medical attention for symptoms associated with a heart attack. Caretakers, healthcare providers, and the bereaved themselves need to recognize they are in a period of heightened risk in the days and weeks after hearing someone close has died. Those with a history of heart disease especially should be watched closely. Past research has already shown that recently bereaved people have heart rhythm changes, which may make some of them more vulnerable to heart problems. Findings suggest that grieving spouses have a higher long-term risk of dying with heart disease and strokes, accounting for around half of the deaths. So for everyone who has lost a spouse, me included, we have to really watch for this. Studies where hearts of bereaved spouses and parents were monitored showed that their hearts beat faster on average with more common periods of very rapid heart rates. This might be enough to trigger an attack in someone with pre-existing heart disease. Long story short, we have to realize that when someone dies, the focus is so very often on the person who has died, but we now know that we need to look out for those who are grieving, and especially if you have a pre-existing heart condition. Jay, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know quite a few people that have had experiences with loved ones that, when like their grandfather passed away, within days the grandmother passes away. I mean, it's amazing how frequently I've heard stories of that happening. Um,
Yes.
there's even a thing called broken heart syndrome, which is closely related to that, that has been in the press not too many months ago, that I was not aware of, and I've been a healthcare consultant for 27 years. That it's similarly related to this grief pattern here, where someone that just having a broken heart can trigger a heart attack.
Yes, as a matter of fact, one of our widow friends that we all know through the Facebook widow sites lost her mother on Christmas Day, and her father died on January the 9th, just 15 days apart. And I have no idea what the father's cause of death, but I've had several friends who have lost their parents close together, and oh, that's so difficult. You can't get over one death until you're grieving for another. So, all right, Jay. So tell us a little bit about your background to start off.
Well, like I just said, I've been a healthcare consultant for about 27 years. I took the position as executive director for Shake about a year ago. Shake itself has been around for about 10 years, but they hired me to begin really emphasizing the message to the general population. Up until they hired me, most of it was educating the cardiology community. There's a lot of inconsistency out in the cardiology community community right now as far as what the most appropriate tests are, what's the most effective tests, and then there's also a lot of inconsistency in the treatment protocols for, depending on what the test results might be, what the most appropriate treatment would be. So SHAPE joined together about, well, I guess we have about 25 cardiologists from all over the world, literally, that have come up with the guideline recommendations on what is most appropriate, most effective, and then based on the test screening results, what the treatment protocols should be. So it's a wonderful organization. I had not been in the nonprofit world. I had served on a couple boards and done some nonprofit things as on the volunteer side, but SHAPE found me, and I found SHAPE, and I really, really believe in it completely, and some amazing things have been happening just in this first year that I've been with them, so I'm very, not to get too deep over there, but I really feel like I've been very blessed to have been asked to join this organization.
Yes, it's a two-way street. You're very blessed, and SHAPE is also very blessed to have you. You're a great guy, and you have a lot of great information. I'm looking at the chat room, and Sherry out in the San Diego area said that she had chest pain right after Randy, her husband, died, and that her rhythm was all messed up, and she had an angiogram, and everything was okay. So we're already seeing from people in the chat room that they've already experienced exactly what we are talking about. And I see that Nyla, she says that sometimes when she has moments, she feels like her heart is going to burst. So yes, grieving is very, very challenging on the body. And so we really have to remember our hearts, knowing that heart attacks can happen when we're grieving. I see Julia has joined us. Julia, we're glad to have you this evening. And if you're just tuning in, I'm Robin Craig, and you're watching Robin Craig Live, and I'm speaking with my special guest, Jay Donnella, who is the Executive Director of SHAPE, Society for Heart Attack Prevention and Eradication. Okay, Jay, let's get down to it. Does a normal physical tell you if you have blockage in your arteries?
Not at all. That's really the largest frustration that created SHAPE in the first place. So many people walk around assuming that a normal routine physical, when you get your blood work done, your cholesterol checked, your blood pressure checked, all of the normal measurement factors, so many people, when they're told that they have acceptable numbers, mistakenly assume that they're fine. And we hear stories all the time, and it's been documented that like over 70% of heart attacks happen to people with acceptable cholesterol numbers. And that's crazy, because so many people assume that cholesterol is almost the holy grail of what people should be assuming, that whether or not they're happy, they're healthy or not. And it happens all the time that people have acceptable numbers and still have heart attacks.
And so what you're also saying is that a cholesterol test doesn't identify that you have blockage in your arteries either.
It doesn't identify that at all. All it does is tells you how much cholesterol you have in your bloodstream. The actual blockage is plaque that is caused by deposits of cholesterol on the artery walls, and a lot of that is totally determined by the DNA of the person, whether or not the plaque actually, the cholesterol actually sticks to the walls. There are people out there that have very high cholesterol numbers and have totally clean arteries, and vice versa. There's people that have, very low and acceptable cholesterol numbers and have terrible blockage in their system. So cholesterol is, in a lot of cases, it's kind of a precursor to plaque, but it's no indication whatsoever of actual plaque in the system.
This is something I was thinking about today. When you go to the dentist, the hygienist says, you got a little bit of plaque. Is that the same kind of plaque that forms in your arteries?
No, the plaque in your arteries is fatty deposits or the cholesterol itself that has just attached to the walls.
Okay. Okay, I just wondered about that. I thought, we have so many words in the English language that are interchangeable, but they mean totally different things. And I just wondered if there was any correlation there, but you're saying that there's not, so that's good to know. Now, when I met you, Jay, we had lunch one day, and you shared with me that you had gone to the YMCA and you had learned about a man who had gone to have a physical because he wanted to begin an exercise regime. He goes to the YMCA, and the first time he works out, he just fell out and died. That seems to be pretty commonplace, doesn't it?
Unfortunately, it really does. Yeah, that particular story about the YMCA was unfortunate because it was
Yes.
like the grand opening of a very high-end flagship YMCA, and
Ah,
you know, so many people, middle-aged people especially, that are wanting to get back physically fit. They're always told, check with your doctor first to see if you're physically able to begin an exercise program.
yes.
And this gentleman had done exactly what he was supposed to do, and was told that he was fine. Started his exercise and collapsed and died on the jogging trail about a week after that.
That's just so crazy. The good news is there's always good that comes from bad. And the good news is I loved hearing that the YMCA is considering putting your information from SHAPE in their new member packet. So I pray that that happens because we need more information. So, okay, so we've already determined that you cannot know if you have blocked arteries from a regular physical. You don't know if your cholesterol is great, that you have blocked arteries. What kind of test determine if your arteries are blocked?
Well, the screening tests that SHAPE recommends. One is a ultrasound of the carotid artery, and it has to be what's called it goes by the acronym of CIMT, but it stands for carotid intermediate thickness carotid artery test. It actually is a screen for the thickness of the walls of the artery and any plaque that may be attached to them. So
Okay.
there are ultrasound tests that are being done out there right now that do not test for thickness of what we're testing for is called atherosclerosis, and that's the hardening of the walls and plaque deposits.
Okay.
The other kind of ultrasounds that are being done out there, you may have seen some of the ads. They pull up vans in front of churches and things like that and do these. They only basically check for volume of blood flow going through the arteries. It's just like a hose. I mean, you can have volume going through even a pinched hose, and it would not be catching the potential for blockage.
Okay.
The CIMT test does show it's actually basically taking a snapshot of the artery itself to see if there's any blockage. The other one is a CT scan of the coronary artery or the heart area. Both of them are just looking for plaque that exists in the arteries.
Okay. And what? Go ahead.
One of the chat things, neither of these tests are invasive. I'm not sure whoever asked that, but that's a really good question because, and thank you, Kirby. Kirby is actually on my board of directors. So there's some things going on behind the scenes here.
It's great.
It is not invasive.
It's great.
That's one of the reasons why we recommend these tests, because they're non-invasive. Okay. They're not threatening in any way, and they're relatively inexpensive. The ultrasound usually costs around $100. The CT scan, depending on where you get it, could be around $200 or in that area. But there were some articles not too long ago being done about CT angiograms that are invasive and that they're very expensive. They're potentially dangerous, and that is not the type of test that SHAPE recommends whatsoever.
Okay, so the chat room is all abuzz right now, and thank goodness Kirby's there and he's answering some of the questions. But I want to make sure that we audibly answer all of the questions, because a lot of people will watch the archived show, which does not include the chat room. So we want to answer everything audibly as we go. Okay, now the testing. You said you can have an ultrasound for about $100 or less.
Usually, there is such inconsistency out there. It kind of depends on where you go. When I was at the American Heart Association conference not too long ago, there were some physicians coming up to me from Arizona, where even the CT scans, that marketplace has gotten very competitive, and even the CT scans were being given as a loss leader by the hospitals to find new potential patients for like $75 in that area. So it really depends on where you go.
Okay, all right. I tell you, I love it. I know the internet was moving slowly tonight, but I love seeing so many people joining the chat room. I want to say hi to Donita and Carol, poor widow me. Thank you so much for joining us. And I see we have Scott. Scott is new. We're delighted that all of you guys are here, because we're getting some really great information. Okay, so we've determined that we can do an ultrasound and a CT scan. Is that correct? To determine the blocked arteries?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where can you get these tests done?
That is, the CT scan you can probably get at just about any hospital, and some of the imaging centers around town. The CIMT ultrasound, that technology has gotten much more user-friendly and affordable, so it's becoming more and more available all the way down to the individual physician offices and even some clinics.
Okay.
But the best thing that we always tell people is, check with your doctor. He or she may do it themselves.
Okay.
If not, they probably know someone that they can refer you to in the area. But like I said, most of the hospitals and imaging centers have this technology for sure.
Okay, so what people need to do is to tell their doctors, I want to have my arteries checked to see if I have blockage, and ask if your doctor can do the testing, and if your doctor can't, ask your doctor to recommend. Now, Jay, I see one of the young ladies in the chat room is saying that it's a shame that, you have to pay for all the testing, and insurance doesn't always cover it. Does insurance cover this test?
Well, in Texas, we have kind of a interesting situation. We actually do have legislation that was passed, not the most recent session, but the session before last, that does mandate that these tests be reimbursed. The big catch with that legislation is that state mandates only apply to fully insured individuals that have insurance.
Okay.
through a group insurance plan. So
Okay.
if you're working at a company that has 50 employees, for instance, and has insurance through one of the big insurance carriers like Blue Cross or Aetna or whomever, then you do have the state mandate that does apply to you.
Okay.
Unfortunately, state mandates do not apply to employer groups that are self-insured. And a self-insured group, again, that's what I did for 27, 28 years. That most groups, when they get over a couple hundred employees, begin self-insuring, which means they're paying their own claims, and they don't have to comply with state mandates. So, unfortunately, the legislation is on the books in Texas, but it doesn't apply to that many people. We are trying to ramp it up. If we could get these type of screenings to get approved by the Center for Medicare and Medicaid as preventative services, then it wouldn't matter if it was a state mandate or not, because then it would be a national mandate and everything would be great. But unfortunately, Texas is the only one with the state legislation so far.
Okay, I want to put up your website right now. What's the website?
ShapeSociety.org.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Shapesociety.org. Now, another thing that we talked about is that Shape has some different places that you guys can refer people to for testing, and that you're working on your website now so that eventually people can plug in their zip code and different places will pop up where they can have the testing done. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we're working on that. The website, it existed before I came on board and has been a priority, but not one of my highest priorities this year. So we're hoping within the next month or two that we will have that capability of people to be able to put in a zip code and find physicians in their area to get
Okay.
that resource. But so far, it's just a long list. They can go in and pull up, doctors and facilities in Texas, for instance, but they have to do some searching.
Okay. Now, last week we were talking, actually, it was a couple of weeks ago. I did a show called Kicking Off the New Year, and I gave 20 tips for creating a great year, especially if you have suffered a personal loss. And I had told everybody, because you and I spoke on the phone that day, and I told everybody that they needed to talk to their doctor and find out what testing they can do. And they had 100 questions. One of them was, if you have an ultrasound done on your leg, does that suffice in letting you know if you have plaque in your arteries?
Um, well, plaque is systemic. So, I mean, if you have it in one place, you're more than likely to have it throughout your body. So,
Okay.
technically, I guess, yes, the ultrasound in the leg would probably indicate if you're at risk for having atherosclerosis. But the reason SHAPE recommends the carotid artery is because it's so much easier to get to. I mean, it's right there in your neck, and it's actually a double benefit because if you have plaque that ruptures in your carotid artery, not only is that a potential for a heart attack, but that's also a potential for a stroke.
Okay, yes. Okay, and strokes cause a lot of deaths as well. So, all right, that's good information. Now, how old should you be when you are first tested for blockage in the arteries?
The SHAPE guidelines recommend, and again, keep in mind that this is for asymptomatic people only. These are for people that think they're otherwise healthy. Um, but it recommends for men age 45 and up and women age 55 and up. If you have other risk factors like you're diabetic or obese or you have high cholesterol or high blood pressure or especially a family history of heart disease, then you should get it done at an earlier age. But in general, the SHAPE guidelines recommend 45 for men, 55 for women.
Okay, now everybody knows that when you have a colonoscopy done, if you're okay, you can wait so many years and then you need to have it redone. Once you get tested, men at 45, women at 55, do you need to have the test repeated? And if so, at what interval?
SHAPE guidelines recommend that you do it every 5 years if you have no symptoms or no plaque present.
Okay.
If you do have plaque present, then obviously you the reason why SHAPE was created is you find out you have the plaque and then you can proactively do something about it.
Okay.
So if you do have plaque, then you can go see a cardiologist
Okay.
and get under a treatment program, and then it kind of depends on what the cardiologist recommends how frequently you should come back to get tested.
Okay. Now,
and it's no longer prevention, it's more treatment.
all right, and knowing that family history is very important when it comes to heart issues, do children or teenagers need to be tested?
Well, plaque, it is a gradual buildup of fatty cells on the artery wall. So, um, in theory, it kind of starts at an early age anyway, but it takes years for the accumulation of these deposits to become large and damaging and potentially damaging enough to really be concerned. So for children and teenagers, we really probably would not recommend that.
Okay. All right. I'm loving it because I'm getting an A+ on my investigative reporter work. Sherry just said, great questions, Robin. You know, I've been working hard on this show because there's so much information, and we have bad things that happen to us out of ignorance because nobody's talking about it. And I'm so honored to create this forum where I can bring people like Jay Donnella and to be able to share this information because all of us want to live the longest, healthiest life that we can. And I think, you know, my 43-year-old husband just fell out a few hours after he was flexing his big biceps and I'm bragging on his gym workout. And I'm like, boy, honey, you look great. And he just fell out. And his autopsy revealed that he had blockage in his carotid artery. And had we known about these tests, we might have him here today. So that's why I'm doing the show, because we can't help those who are gone, but we certainly can work to prevent heart attacks. And that's what Jay is doing at SHAPE. It's a wonderful organization. Okay, now, Jay, what would you like to emphasize regarding heart attacks? You know, we know that heart attacks kill more people than cancer. That's kind of hard to believe because so many people have cancer. What else would you like people to know about heart attacks?
Well, it's just the reason I took the position with Shape in the first place was because it is so incredibly preventable. I mean, I've heard upwards of 98% of all heart attacks could be totally eliminated if people just knew, what their actual condition was and then did something about it. Everybody's always heard of the eating right and exercising and non-smoking kind of things, but you can do all of those things. One of the things we have on our website was the kind of the father of the marathon runners, Jim Fix. The picture of health. He died from a heart attack, and it's so amazing to me. Again, why I took this position. It's so amazing to me that it is so preventable. I jokingly, I give a lot of talks all over the place, and, I jokingly say, if you know that stepping in front of a train will kill you, don't step in front of a train. And that's kind of how simple the SHAPE message is. If you know that blockage causes a heart attack, and you can test for the blockage, and then if you find that you have it, you can do something about it, why wouldn't everybody? And,
Yes.
The two tests that SHAPE recommends just got bumped up to level 2A status by the American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiology last November, which we were really excited about because that is the second to the top level of recommendations they can give for anything, any kind of procedures, other than the totally obvious of eating right and exercising. So
Yes.
I think we're making incredible progress. It's just we've got to get it on a national basis. When we see pro football players wearing pink sneakers for a cause that doesn't affect anywhere near as many people as heart disease does,
Yes.
there's a inequity in the system there.
Absolutely, but we're making some changes right here tonight on Rob and Craig Live. Now we have a question.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely, no more than I. Frida in the chat room wants to know if heartburn is a sign of heart disease or is that just a wives' tale?
If heartburn is a sign of heart disease?
Yes. Because you hear a lot of times when people are getting ready to have a heart attack, they will feel that they have like heartburn and they'll start taking antacids and that kind of thing. But just on a normal day,
I've heard the same thing, nausea, heartburn, the pain in the shoulder, the chest pain, all of those kind of things. It certainly could be, but, what SHAPE is about is trying to prevent people from ever getting to that level in the first place. I don't think I would assume just because you have heartburn, you have potential for issues. I mean, if it persists a lot, I'm not a doctor myself, but from what I've heard, that consistent heartburn is more of a potential for esophageal cancer and things like that. But
yes.
Again, that's
Okay, so Frida, don't be afraid, honey. If you get a little heartburn, you're gonna be okay.
Well, again, I'm not a doctor. If it's bad enough, you know, go to the doctor and talk to a doctor. But
Yes,
I
because
won't see anybody.
that's a common thing that a lot of people get periodically. But I think, you know, with the body, you have to follow what your head's telling you. And I think you're right, Jay. If you get it more than a couple of times and you're thinking it's happening too frequently, the bottom line is just get checked out. Don't try to guess. Just get checked out. Now, one thing you told me, Jay, when we last spoke, and I appreciated you so because you talked to me while you were on vacation. I admire you so much for taking your family time to talk to me, and that shows me how dedicated you are to your work. But you said over 70% of heart attacks happen to people with normal cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that crazy?
It's it's amazing. You know, there are so many amazing aspects of the the reality of the situation. That's why I wanted the job that I have,
Yes.
because you know I've been a consultant for so many years. I know so many people in various industry groups and large employer groups and you know all these different things. I figured that I could get the message out probably faster, and I believed in it so much that that's
Yeah.
why I took the position. So.
Yes. Yes, you do such a great job too. What can the rest of us do? I mean, obviously, I'm doing a show because I'm working hard to do my part to get out the word, but what can all the viewers do to help get the word out about these two simple, relatively inexpensive tests in relation to so many other tests that we all get? What can we all do to help?
You know, anywhere that they are in a position to get in front of other people, you know, whether it be a Chamber of Commerce meeting or a Rotary group, you know, I give speeches to all of those type of organizations all the time. I
Okay.
actually was just recently talking to a gardening club, believe it or not. Anywhere there's a group of people, um, preferably middle-aged people. You know, that again, that's the target demographic that Shape is looking to impact.
Okay.
Um, you know, let me know, and depending on how many people and where they're located and things like that, I can either go and speak to them, or I can provide literature to their organization. Um, you know, the biggest thing that anybody can do to help Shape is help spread the message. And um, you know, unfortunately, helping to spread the message also implies that we need funding, since we are a nonprofit. So you know,
Okay.
they can also certainly go to our website and help out financially if that's a possibility.
Yes, and I've got your website up. It is shapesociety.org. And I see a lot of people are still logging on. If you're logging on now, I'm speaking to Jay Donnella. I've got his name up. He's on Facebook. You guys can become his Facebook friend and keep up with what's going on at Shape. And he is the executive director for this organization that's doing great things to help prevent and eradicate heart attacks. Jay, you guys have a fundraiser coming up. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's again, we're just breaking into the public reality of the nonprofit world, and you know, everybody knows about the American Heart Association, and you know, that is a very well-established, functioning organization. Um, we wanted to do something different. We wanted Shape to be kind of, since we're targeting healthy people and we're wanting to make people stay healthy, we wanted to do something a little bit more active. The month of February is National Heart Month, so it was the perfect time of the year for us to do a big fundraiser. But unfortunately, that is also what the American Heart Association believes. So they have a big gala. We wanted to do something that was kind of a little bit more energetic, targeting a middle-aged, kind of a healthier crowd, believe it or not, is what we're hoping to target. And we are having Riverway Hotel on Friday, February 24th, starting at 7:30. We've got a great band lined up called Nash 3. It's actually known nationally, and they play kind of any kind of dance music. It should just be a really fun event. We are saying that it's black tie optional, and in parentheses, red tie optional. Shape actually has a red tie that we have produced that we sell as a fundraiser, but we would like it to be an upscale, fun, dancing, heavy hors d'oeuvres, cash bar kind of event. The Omni Riverway is a beautiful place, so we're very excited about it.
So here's my question. For those of us who really like to dance, hopefully I'll be able to attend. For those of us who really like to dance and it's like a big workout, are you guys going to test us before we get on the dance floor?
Actually, one of our sponsors is Panasonic, and they are a sponsor of ours because they manufacture one of the kind of industry leading ultrasound machines for the type of screenings we do. We expect to have some demos of their machines, their equipment there. I don't know if we'll actually be doing the screenings themselves because we actually did screenings at a golf tournament last year, and it was very, very well received. But the screenings, they don't take that long, but in order to do them, it takes about 5 minutes for the screening itself, but then you have to get the reporting and everything else. I just think it would probably bog down the event too much, but we will have it probably there on site so people can see it. I tell you, it's amazing, the technology. It's about as big as a briefcase now.
Oh, my gosh.
Historically, ultrasounds were difficult for physicians' offices to have because the equipment was big, cumbersome, had a lot of knobs and buttons, and it required a very high-level sonographer. So this new technology has built in the algorithms to protect the user from having to make mistakes. It really, not to belittle anyone, but it has kind of idiot-proofed it. That the technology has come so far. I mean, it will only take the picture if the ultrasound wand is at the right angle, during the right moment of the heartbeat. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to be done exactly right, and the equipment does it for them.
Okay.
So it's pretty neat.
It's fabulous. It's so exciting that technology has gotten to the place where it is and that we can actually see what's happening in the body if only we know which test we need to look for the problem areas. Now, I'm looking in the chat room. Melanie, hi, sweetie. I'm glad that you're here tonight, too. Melanie said that on October 7th, she had excruciating chest pain, nausea, and sweating. And after the third time, she went to the hospital and they did a heart cath the next morning and everything was clear. So I love the fact that people are going when they're feeling poorly and they're getting signals that something's not right. Our big messages tonight that you need to have your arteries checked, and you can have the ultrasound or you can have the CT scan. You can talk to your doctor about that, but it's important to actually have your arteries checked for blockage. Jay, let's take a break and give away some beanitos. You want to? Okay, beanitos. Now these are great chips. We all know that chips are not the best thing to eat, but these are different because they are made out of beans. This is the black bean chipotle barbecue flavor, which is my favorite. They're made by a family in Austin, Texas, and they're so good. They're gluten-free, corn-free, they've got high fiber protein, and they are low glycemic. So I am going to give away a case of them. The small bags, you get 24 of them in a case. So everybody in the chat room who would like to win, pick a number between 1 and 40. And I'm going to hold up. I've got my number right here, so don't worry that I'm going to cheat and award the Benitos to my favorite friend, because you're all my favorite friends. Everybody pick a number in the chat room between 1 and 40. Okay, everybody's getting there. Pick a number. Pick a number, guys. All right, keep going. Is everybody in there? Is everybody in there? Can somebody in the chat room tell me if we're all in there? Okay, all right, I'm going to flip the number over. You ready? The number is 18. So it looks like Scott is the winner. Is that correct? It looks like Scott is the winner. Okay, excellent. Scott, congratulations. I'm going to send you a little personal message box so that I can get your address, and you're going to get a case of them delivered to your door. I don't know where you live, but if you're in Houston, you know I expect you to share them with me because I'm like really hooked on them. Okay, wasn't that fun, Jay? Did you enjoy that?
I certainly did. Every
Okay.
time I get to talk about what Shape does, I enjoy it.
It's so great. Now, I want to mention something else. We talked about before that SHAPE had been doing some testing at some of the local hospitals in our area, and you guys did free testing for people who were there, and you had a huge number of people lined up at once. What were the responses that you were getting from people who were able to get the testing done?
Oh, it's so eye-opening. I mean, I love every time we do this live. I mean, one of the things we did some screenings with Methodist Hospital in the state capitol building over in Austin, and we had people lined up a block around halfway around the block, waiting for these. We did, like I mentioned earlier, we did the screenings at this golf tournament over the summer, and that one was kind of funny because a lot of the people, just to put it bluntly, I mean, we're fairly overweight at this golf tournament, and guys were coming up to me saying, I don't know if I want to have this done. I don't know if I want to know if I have a problem. And what I was telling them was, you cannot lose when you get this screening done. You either find out that you're clean, and that's a great feeling if you know you're not at risk. But then also, if you find out that you are at risk, then you can proactively do something to address it so that it doesn't escalate into actually becoming a heart attack. I gave a speech at a Rotary Club a couple months ago, and the president went and got tested, found out he was like 90% blocked, didn't have a clue he had a problem. And he was just like so happy that I had come and talked to his Rotary Club. It's just a wonderful feeling, and to be spreading that kind of message that it's not heart attacks just do not have to happen, and unfortunately, over half of all heart attacks happen to people that think they're healthy, don't know anything, have the right cholesterol, exercise, diet. I mean, do everything that's right, and still half of all heart attacks happen to those kind of people. So it's just it's a great message, and
Yes, it is.
any way that we can help spread that message.
And it helps clarify for people who maybe didn't get an autopsy, or they're feeling uncomfortable why their spouse or another loved one died. It helps to clarify. I shared with you today that one of my Facebook friends, Lori, she said, Robin, I wish you would ask Jay about sudden unexplained heart attacks. How can there be nothing wrong with someone, but then they just drop dead suddenly? It's been almost 4 years, and I still can't wrap my head around how that can happen. Normal EKG, normal stress test, excellent cholesterol. I made him give up red meat, and he took an aspirin daily. He was active. How can someone healthy just drop dead? I feel that the cause of death on my husband's death certificate is wrong. The ER doctor said it was atherosclerotic heart disease, but she says it's no way it's that. What do you say to Lori, Jay?
That's exactly why SHAPE was created, because it does happen.
Yes.
You can do everything right, and you can still have plaque in your arteries. And when that plaque it's clean to the artery walls, and when it ruptures, it creates basically a floating log jam that eventually will stick somewhere and create the sudden blockage, and that's what will kill a person. The gradual narrowing of the artery walls, that is not a heart attack. I mean, those are the kind of things that can make climbing the stairs difficult and, some of the other symptoms, but that's not having a heart attack. The actual heart attack is when you get the blockage and your heart muscle begins to die.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for clarifying that. I hope that that makes her feel a little bit better, and maybe she can get a little bit more resolve regarding her husband's death. Because we always say, how does somebody go from being perfectly healthy and just fall out? But the whole thing is that we have problems on the inside that we can't see. And as you said, what was it? 50% of heart attacks is the first sign that somebody's sick is the heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you're doing an excellent job, and I so appreciate you being here with us. Do you have any final words that you would like to share with everybody? I know our clock is ticking.
Well, I'm sorry for the reason this group has come together, but SHAPE is trying to prevent these surprises and the
Yes.
deaths of spouses down the road. And, I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to talk to everybody. Um, if there's anybody that wants to talk to me offline or ask me questions, the shapesociety.org,
Yes.
it's very easy to get a hold of me.
Yes.
I'd be happy to be a resource for whatever groups they may belong to, or anybody else I can help.
Yes, I love it. Terry in the chat room is saying to please tell you, Jay, that you've provided a lot of great information. I know everybody really appreciates you. Frida, Sherry, Melanie, Carol, everybody's saying thank you so much, Jay. And I just want to say to everybody who's watching who has lost a spouse, we all need to go and have the testing done to know if we have blocked arteries, because now we don't have a spouse to take care of us. For people like me, I have no kids. For those of you who have kids, I know you don't want to be a burden. So we just all have to pay attention to the information. I will be posting the archived link for the show, and I hope that everybody will send it to all of their friends and family, and especially to be aware that when you are grieving, that could push you over the edge into having a heart attack. So look out for yourself and look out for everybody else. Jay, thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to the big dance on Friday, February the 24th at the Omni Hotel Riverway here in Houston. If you guys are in Houston, you have to come, and you can find Jay on Facebook. You can find SHAPE on Facebook, and if you don't find it, Facebook me and I will get you the information. Let's just go dance the night away. Thank you so much, sweetie.
Thanks so much.
All right, good night.
Good night.
What a blessing, huh? I tell you, Jay is like the greatest guy, and he works so hard to get this information out. And it's amazing that this information is available and so many don't know. But he had shared with me that SHAPE was started by a cardiologist who was frustrated. And sometimes some of the greatest things start from frustration. And SHAPE, which stands for Society for Heart Attack Prevention and Eradication, they are doing wonderful things, providing free testing, getting the message out. And as I said earlier, they're working on their website so that eventually you can log on, you can type in your zip code, and they will say, here are the places in your area where you can get the testing done. And we all know we have to have mammography, and there's just a host of testing that we're all very much aware of. But like Jay said, heart attacks are the leading cause of death in America. So let's do everything we can to spread the word. Please share this information. Please share my show's link when I post it on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, you can email me at robincraigdirect.com. Robin is with an I. Craig is spelled like a boy's first name, RobbinCraigDirect.com, and I will get you all the information that you need. And I really appreciate you watching. You guys know that. The chat room, you guys have been fabulous. Your comments are wonderful, and it's amazing to see how many people have had issues with their hearts. So we want to stop that. We want to be healthy. We want to live a long, happy life. So please join me every single Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern, and if you're out on the left coast, it's 7 p.m. Share it with your friends. A lot of people are grieving. If you have a special topic or you'd like to be a guest on the show, just contact me through my website, RobbinCraigDirect.com. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and I'm going to hang around for a little bit in the chat room, which I often do, so that we can catch up. So don't go away. Let's hang out in the chat room and keep the dialogue going. You guys know how much I love you, don't you? Yeah, you do. I love you so much. Mwah. Hugs and kisses. Stay warm for you guys who are in the snow. And if you get to where it's like too cold, come see me in Texas. It's in the 70s. Love ya.